If you believe a food crisis only starts once grocery shelves are completely bare, then the truth is you've already missed the warning signs. The real danger shows up much sooner, when prices begin creeping higher, but hardly anyone talks about it. It starts when options quietly disappear, when variety fades, and when everyday people can no longer afford the foods they actually need to live stable, healthy lives from one day to the next. You're still shopping like normal. The stores are still open and food is still there. Yet something feels off. That old sense of security doesn't quite hold anymore. The problem isn't how much food you can technically buy. It's whether the choices you're making are the right ones during a time when the food system itself is becoming less reliable and harder to predict. Plenty of people still have refrigerators that look full, but their health slowly declines because their diets no longer provide what the body truly needs over the long haul. When instability stretches on, calories alone aren't enough. This isn't a message meant to spark fear. It's not about doomsday scenarios or extreme hoarding. And it's not aimed at people preparing for the end of the world. This is for those who still shop every week, still want life to feel normal, but refuse to sit back and do nothing while a food crisis develops gradually, out of sight, without headlines, and over months or even years. What follows are 10 essential food items. Not for luxury. Not even for eating especially well. These are foods meant to prevent breakdown, slow physical depletion, and help you stay functional during a time when food becomes more expensive, more unstable, and far less dependable than it once was. 10. Canned meat. Canned meat isn't anyone's first choice. When fresh meat is affordable, refrigerators work without fail, and grocery trips are simple, most people avoid it altogether. But during a crisis, canned meat serves a very specific purpose. It exists for moments when relying on fresh meat becomes unsafe or impractical. If power outages stretch on for days, refrigeration can't be trusted. When severe weather disrupts transportation, fresh meat becomes unreliable, showing up sporadically and often at sharply higher prices. In those situations, the question stops being about flavor or preference and becomes far more basic. Does your body have enough protein to stay strong? That's where canned meat proves its value. It requires no refrigeration and doesn't depend on a steady supply chain. It also doesn't demand time, energy, or advanced cooking skills. You open the container, and you immediately have a usable source of protein, something that helps prevent physical breakdown when normal routines fall apart. A common mistake is treating canned meat as a full substitute for fresh meat, eating it day after day in large portions without variation. That strategy backfires. The repetition wears on you, and the high salt content can put unnecessary stress on the body over time. Used wisely, canned meat works best in moderation. Pair small amounts with staples like rice or dry noodles to stretch servings further. Think of it as the protein anchor of a meal, not the whole plate. Even modest portions can help maintain strength without overwhelming your system. In many emergencies, people eventually realize the real issue isn't the absence of food. It's the difficulty of sustaining regular meals when storage, energy, and cooking options are limited. Canned meat directly solves that problem. It allows you to keep eating when you're tired, when the power is out, or when better choices simply aren't available. Choosing to keep canned meat on hand isn't about settling for low standards. It's about refusing to let your body weaken while waiting for conditions to improve. Canned meat isn't a symbol of abundance. It's a symbol of continuity, the ability to keep going, to function, and to maintain the rhythm of daily life when survival temporarily takes priority over comfort. 9. Dry noodles. Food shortages rarely take people down through outright starvation. More often, they wear people out slowly, through constant fatigue that never fully lifts. Dry noodles aren't meant to be delicious or comforting. Their purpose is far more practical. They're for the days when you technically have food, but no longer have the energy to decide what to cook, how to prepare it, or even where to start. In a real crisis, the biggest threat isn't always empty cupboards. It's exhaustion. Long power outages, broken routines, and ongoing stress make even simple decisions feel overwhelming. At that stage, meals that require planning or effort become mentally heavy, even if the ingredients are still sitting in the kitchen. That's the exact moment dry noodles matter. Add hot water, or even just warm water, and you have a usable meal that provides enough energy to keep you moving. There's no planning involved, no complex cleanup, and no string of decisions to work through when your brain is already drained. During long blackouts, extreme weather events, or sustained heat, many people discover that what truly wears them down isn't hunger itself, but the constant need to think about every single meal. Dry noodles interrupt that cycle. They let you eat quickly, restore a bit of energy, and then focus on whatever else needs attention. A common mistake is relying on dry noodles as a standalone meal for too long, eating them repeatedly, by themselves, without adding any protein or fat. That pattern leads to short-lived fullness, unstable energy, and a sharp mental crash not long after. A better approach is to use dry noodles as an energy foundation. When possible, pair them with small amounts of canned meat, canned fish, or eggs to make the meal more sustaining. The goal isn't to build your entire diet around noodles. It's to use them strategically to reduce fatigue. Eat only what you need to stay functional, no more than that. Dry noodles also offer a clear advantage when clean water is limited. They require significantly less water than cooking rice or preparing fresh foods, and in a pinch, they can still be eaten with water that isn't fully boiling. Choosing dry noodles isn't about saving money or convenience. It's about having a meal available when your energy is gone and your capacity to manage anything else has disappeared. Dry noodles don't symbolize abundance. They represent the ability to keep going, preserve daily rhythm, and stay upright on days when both body and mind are worn down. 8. Beans, dry or canned. When a serious food crisis begins, meat usually doesn't vanish overnight. Instead, it becomes inaccessible. Prices climb fast, package sizes shrink, and meat slowly shifts from a regular staple into something you save for rare occasions. History is very clear on this point. During long periods of scarcity, people don't survive on meat. They survive on beans. Beans aren't impressive or indulgent. They don't give you that heavy, satisfied feeling of a rich meal. But they exist for a very specific and very real situation, when your body still needs protein to avoid breaking down, yet meat is no longer affordable on a regular basis. Whether dried or canned, beans offer steady protein, help you feel full for longer, and, most importantly, can be eaten day after day without the body pushing back. In a food crisis, the greatest danger isn't sudden starvation. It's slow, unnoticed hunger. You may still eat every day, but without enough protein, muscles weaken, strength fades, and exhaustion quietly builds week after week. Beans directly counter that slow decline. Even a small serving of beans combined with rice or noodles can be enough to keep your body from slipping downward when meat has nearly disappeared from your meals. One of the biggest misconceptions is treating beans as a side dish or assuming they're only meant for vegetarians. In reality, beans are survival protein. They don't require refrigeration, they don't demand advanced cooking skills, and they allow for flexible portion sizes depending on what you have and how much energy you can spare. Dry beans are ideal for long-term endurance. They carry you through extended hardship. Canned beans, on the other hand, are there for the days when you're too tired to cook and need something immediately usable. There's a reason beans consistently show up in relief supplies, wartime diets, and emergency food programs. When meat stops being a daily option, beans are what keep people functioning the longest at the lowest cost. If you suddenly had to cut meat out of your diet, what would replace that protein? And right now, in your own home, are beans simply something you keep on the shelf? Or are they something that could truly carry you through a difficult stretch? 7. Cooking oil. During a food crisis, many people slip into a dangerous state without noticing it at first. They continue eating every day, rice, noodles, vegetables, even beans. But their strength fades quickly. Within a few weeks, they feel drained, get hungry again almost immediately after meals, and struggle to complete even simple daily tasks. In many cases, the problem isn't a shortage of food at all. It's a shortage of fat. Cooking oil is the most energy-dense item in the kitchen. A single spoonful provides as much usable energy as a large serving of carbohydrates. Under normal circumstances, that difference may not seem important. But when portions shrink and foods rich in fat or protein become expensive or scarce, cooking oil becomes the deciding factor between holding on and slowly breaking down. A food crisis doesn't usually cause immediate starvation. Instead, it creates constant hunger, lingering dissatisfaction, and gradual exhaustion. Cooking oil interrupts that cycle. Adding even a small amount to rice, beans, noodles, or vegetables increases the energy density of a meal, keeps you full longer, and reduces the body's constant demand for more fuel. This becomes especially critical for older adults, who may feel hunger quickly but struggle to eat large portions. One of the most common mistakes is treating oil as a minor flavoring, or cutting it back drastically out of fear that it's unhealthy. In a crisis, the goal isn't weight loss or dietary perfection. The priority is stable energy and physical resilience. A modest daily amount of cooking oil helps the body absorb other nutrients more efficiently and sustain strength far longer than most people expect. It also has a practical advantage that's often overlooked. Nearly every staple food relies on it. You might still have rice, beans, or noodles, but without oil, meals become dry, unappealing, and exhausting to eat. Storing cooking oil isn't about eating more food. It's about making sure smaller portions actually carry you through the day. If your meals were suddenly cut in half, what do you think would keep you satisfied longer? An extra bowl of rice or one carefully used spoonful of oil? 6. Oats. During a food crisis, hunger doesn't affect everyone in the same way. Some people may still have food available, yet their bodies lose the ability to handle heavy or dense meals. Ongoing heat, stress, poor sleep, or simply aging can weaken digestion surprisingly fast. When that happens, the real question shifts from what will make you feel full to what your body can still comfortably absorb. This is exactly where oats become essential. One viewer once summed it up with a short but painfully honest remark: cereal, you can eat it dry. That single sentence reflects a reality many households face during hard times. The need for food that can be eaten immediately requires minimal effort and doesn't overwhelm the body. Oats fit that need perfectly. They can be eaten hot, cold, or even dry when conditions are inconvenient, yet they still provide enough energy to keep you upright for hours. Unlike noodles or rice, oats release energy slowly, which makes a critical difference when you can't eat frequently or when cooking feels like too much. That slow, steady energy helps prevent sudden hunger crashes, the kind that leave people irritable, drained, and unable to focus. For those over 50, this is especially valuable. You can eat smaller portions and still last longer without feeling depleted. A common misunderstanding is treating oats as nothing more than a diet food or a healthy breakfast option. In a food crisis, oats aren't about nutrition labels or meal plans. They're about maintaining daily rhythm when the body isn't operating at full strength. Paired with honey, powdered milk, or even a small amount of oil, oats become a gentle but sustaining meal. On days when you're too tired to cook or think, which would you rather eat? Something that weighs down your stomach, or something that quietly helps your body keep moving forward? 5. Salt and electrolyte packets. Salt is rarely the first thing people associate with a crisis, yet many collapses don't come from a lack of food. They come from imbalance. It often happens quietly. During prolonged heat, extended power outages, bouts of diarrhea, or irregular eating, drinking plain water isn't enough. The body needs electrolytes to regulate blood pressure, maintain heart rhythm, and keep basic systems functioning. During heat waves or flooding, older adults are especially vulnerable to dizziness, deep fatigue, and lightheadedness, even when they're still eating on a regular schedule. This kind of decline is subtle but fast. It's a form of silent depletion that weakens the body before most people realize what's happening. Because the symptoms feel mild at first, many people dismiss them as ordinary tiredness. In reality, the issue is often a shortage of salt and essential minerals. That's exactly why salt and electrolyte packets matter. Even small amounts help the body hold on to fluids, reduce the risk of low blood pressure, and support mental clarity during periods when daily routines are disrupted. Electrolyte packets become especially important when food intake is low, when eating isn't possible, or when exhaustion makes nutrient absorption less effective. However, a common mistake is treating electrolytes like a daily beverage, or assuming that more is always better. In a crisis, they're not meant for constant use. They're meant for precise use. When taken at the right moment, their effect is far more powerful than when they're overused. Salt's role goes far beyond seasoning or preserving food. In difficult conditions, its real value is helping the body avoid a rapid downward spiral. Hunger can be endured for a while, but once the body loses balance, decline happens quickly. Have you ever felt completely drained even though you were still eating normally? In that moment, what was your body actually missing? 4. Honey. Honey isn't meant to fill your stomach. Its purpose shows up in moments when both your energy and your focus dip at the same time, when you're not truly hungry, yet you no longer have the strength to move through the day as usual. During a crisis, many people don't break down because food disappears. They falter because long-term fatigue wears down the mind before the body ever gives out. Honey helps in that fragile space. Unlike candy or refined sugar, it delivers quick energy without the harsh spike and crash. A small spoonful can help the body reawaken, clear mental fog, steady shaking hands, and restore a sense of control. This is especially meaningful for older adults, particularly during heat waves, power outages, or prolonged stress, when eating a full meal can feel overwhelming. Honey also serves a quieter role that's rarely mentioned. It helps protect morale. It keeps the inner sense of stability from slipping too far, too fast. A spoon of honey stirred into warm water or tea offers more than calories. It carries a simple but powerful message. I can still take care of myself. In difficult times, that feeling matters far more than most people realize. One common mistake is treating honey like a snack, consuming it in large amounts or leaning on it continuously instead of proper meals. Honey isn't meant to replace real food. It exists to support the weakest moments, when you need a small anchor to carry you through a few draining hours. Keeping honey on hand isn't about luxury or cost. It's one of the rare foods that doesn't spoil, stores easily, requires no preparation, and remains useful even when everything else becomes complicated. On days when you don't need more food but do need steadiness and calm, honey is often what keeps you upright. Have you ever had a day when you were too exhausted to cook, too tired to eat, and just needed something, anything, to get through the next few hours? In that moment, what small thing helped you hold your balance? 3. Canned fish. Canned fish isn't meant to stand in for fresh meat. Its role begins when fresh food becomes unreliable. When prices jump, shopping trips grow inconsistent, and you need a dependable source of protein that doesn't rely on electricity or refrigeration. In a crisis, the real fear isn't going without food today. It's the uncertainty of whether you can keep a steady eating pattern next week. That's where canned fish earns its place. One viewer once left a simple but powerful comment. Tuna, 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 salmon. Any canned fish, you've got this. That wasn't said casually. People who've lived through storms, extended power outages, or local shortages often trust canned fish more than almost anything else. It stores easily, portions cleanly, and doesn't demand special conditions to remain safe. Compared to canned meat, which is heavier and often high in salt, canned fish is lighter, easier on digestion, and better suited for frequent small servings. A single can easily be split into 2 meals. Paired with rice, noodles, or bread, it provides enough support to maintain strength on days when appetite is low. Fish also supplies essential fats, something many emergency diets are missing. A common mistake is treating canned fish like a backup of last resort, leaving it untouched unless the situation feels dire. In reality, its greatest benefit comes from using it early, before the body begins to decline. Introduce it into your routine gradually, in small, consistent amounts, and at the right time. Keeping canned fish isn't about panic or fear of starvation. It's about preserving stability when everything else feels uncertain. It's quiet, unassuming, and remarkably resilient. Among options like tuna, salmon, or sardines, which one do you trust most, and what makes it your choice? 2. White rice. White rice isn't considered a perfect food in every circumstance, but during a food crisis, it ends up saving more people than almost anything else. When food systems start to strain, it's not luxury items or expensive meats that vanish first. It's the basic staples that can feed the largest number of people for the lowest cost. White rice is almost always one of the first to go. We've seen this repeatedly during recent global disruptions. Rice and noodle shelves emptied faster than nearly anything else in many countries. When pressure builds, some nations even limit rice exports to protect their own food security. Not because rice is especially appealing, but because nothing else fills its role as a long-term energy foundation. In times of instability, the most important question isn't what you'll eat today. It's whether you can keep eating consistently next week. White rice exists for that exact purpose. It's affordable, widely available, easy to store, and simple to eat even when stress, extreme weather, or low appetite leave you worn down. For older adults, this simplicity is a significant advantage. Compared to brown rice or whole grains, white rice contains less oil, making it far less likely to go rancid. Over long periods, spoiled food doesn't just create waste, it adds anxiety and mental strain. White rice helps remove that extra burden. There's also a practical storage detail that matters. Regular white rice keeps far longer than brown rice. As long as it's dry, sealed, and protected from moisture, it can remain usable for an extended time. You don't need premium varieties. What matters most is reliability. A common misconception is dismissing white rice as nothing more than empty carbs. In a crisis, the goal isn't perfect nutrition, it's preventing physical breakdown. When combined with beans, canned fish, canned meat, or even a small amount of cooking oil, rice becomes enough to keep the body going day after day. White rice won't help you eat luxuriously. But when food becomes expensive, unstable, and unpredictable, it can be the difference between staying upright and slowly falling behind. If supply chains were disrupted today, how many days of normal life could the rice in your home actually support? 1. Powdered milk. Powdered milk is rarely thought of as a survival staple. Most people associate it with young children, illness, or very specific, short-term needs. Yet during a prolonged food crisis, it becomes one of the few items capable of preventing slow physical decline as eating grows harder with each passing day. A crisis doesn't always mean food disappears. More often, it means nutrition quietly drops even though meals continue. This is something older adults notice most clearly when stress stretches on, temperatures fluctuate, and fatigue becomes constant. Appetite fades. Heavy foods like rice or meat lose their appeal. But the body still requires energy, protein, calcium, and essential vitamins to avoid a rapid downward slide. Powdered milk exists for exactly that moment. Mixed with water, it becomes a surprisingly complete source of nourishment. There's no complicated cooking, no heavy chewing, and no added strain on digestion. A properly prepared glass can stand in for a light meal on days when you're too tired to eat, yet still need enough strength to stay functional. A common misunderstanding is treating powdered milk as an extra or saving it only for the point when nothing else remains. In reality, it offers the most benefit when introduced early, before weakness becomes obvious. Used regularly in small amounts at the right time, it helps prevent long-term nutrient deficiencies that often go unnoticed until they cause real damage. Powdered milk also carries a critical advantage: long, stable storage. It doesn't require refrigeration, doesn't spoil quickly like fresh milk, and doesn't create the mental pressure of needing to be used immediately. When fresh food becomes unpredictable, that kind of stability matters more than most people expect. It won't keep you full as long as grains or rice, but it can stop you from collapsing when your body no longer tolerates normal meals. Right now, in your own home, do you have a source of nutrition gentle enough to use when your body is at its weakest? A food crisis doesn't take people down in a single day. It wears them down gradually, through rising prices, fewer choices, and meals that look adequate but no longer truly sustain the body. Getting through that period isn't about buying more food. It's about choosing the right food. The 10 items you've just seen aren't about panic buying or eating comfortably. They serve one simple purpose: preventing physical breakdown when the food system becomes unstable. When you choose wisely, you need less, worry less, and avoid being pushed into a passive position. The final question isn't whether you have supplies, it's whether what you're buying would actually help you endure if this situation stretches on in your home.